Good morning. My name is Brian Beam. I'm Calcasieu Parish Administrator, and for the folks in the room here, I want to welcome everybody to this public briefing for what is officially now Tropical Storm Francine in the western Gulf of Mexico. Today is September 9th, Monday, September 9th, 10 a.m., and as we've done in these situations before, we'll have a similar agenda today to cover preparation, expectations of what we might see with this storm here in our corner of the state, and hear from some of the public officials. So, we always like to start with the latest forecast, and for that we have Roger Erickson with the National Weather Service here in Lake Charles, and he's been doing this for many years. He's excellent at it. We had a great meeting with him this morning. So at this time, I'll ask him to come up and give the latest forecast on Tropical Storm Francine. Roger?
All right, thank you, Brian. So now that we have a tropical storm with a name, Francine, we're looking at the storm heading towards Louisiana over the next 48 hours. So the latest forecast track has been shifting slightly to the east over the last 24 hours. The current projection for the landfall shows it being over in Vermilion Parish. However, we are going with a hurricane warning for Cameron Parish eastward to Grand Isle. For here in Calcasieu Parish, we're going with a tropical storm watch. So we're not going with a hurricane at this scenario for up here in Calcasieu because that's not what we're expecting here locally in Lake Charles. However, when we're talking about wind effects, storm surge effects, rainfall effects, there's still going to be factors going on across the area. So from a wind perspective, we're still got the possibilities of seeing winds gusting in the 50 to 60 mile an hour range during the day and into the evening hours on Wednesday. And with that kind of a wind speed, we're talking about the potential for some scattered power outages, maybe some trees blown down, and maybe even some roof damage to some houses. So that's something to be aware of from the wind perspective. Rainfall-wise, we're still looking at maybe anywhere from 2 to 6 inches of rain. It just depends on where the rain band's exactly set up. And so when the rain band is over the top of us here in southwest Louisiana, you could have the possibility of street flooding when it's occurring. Obviously, when that happens at night, it's much more dangerous because it's harder to know how deep the water is on the roads at nighttime. So we always want people to be aware of their surroundings and be watching out for flash flood warnings that we'll issue when we're expecting the streets to flood. From the perspective of tornadoes, the tornado threat looks like it's going to be probably east of here during the day Wednesday. So that's good news from that perspective. And then finally, the storm surge perspective, we're looking at the potential for water being about 2 to 3 feet above normal starting Tuesday night and extending through maybe midday on Wednesday. But as the storm makes landfall Wednesday night, the winds here in southwest Louisiana will shift to the north, and that'll push the water back out. So timing for the surge threat is going to be starting Tuesday night through basically midday Wednesday, and then the threat will diminish beyond that. So when you think of the spots that typically have issues, of course, down at the coast, Johnson Bayou, Cameron, Grand Chenier, those areas are always an effect that you got to be paying attention to. But places up here in Calcasieu Parish that you need to be focusing on is things like Deatonville, anywhere that's along the Calcasieu River that typically would flood from when the rivers are running high. That's the spots where potentially you could see some flooding. Even up here into downtown Lake Charles and the North Lake Charles, along the river's effects, that's the spot that maybe there could be a little bit of flooding occurring during the time frame of Tuesday night through Wednesday midday. And then after that, the threat will be diminished. So that's really all I got for you guys from the weather perspective.
Let's just see if there's any questions on the weather.
Okay. Anyone have a question on the weather? Yeah.
When do you expect us to start actually getting some of the stronger winds on Wednesday?
If you re-announce the question.
So the question is, when are we going to see the stronger winds on Wednesday? We actually think the tropical storm force winds will start potentially as early, the earliest it would be Tuesday night, but more likely it would be Wednesday morning. So 7 o'clock in the morning for the tropical storm force winds. I do think during the day on Tuesday, as we see some of the rain bands moving in the area, we could see some gusty winds of 30 miles an hour, but that won't be sustained. Any other questions on the weather? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. When we, of course, hear the weather and ask Roger questions about what to expect, our mode as responding agencies and elected officials is to say, based on the impacts of this event, what do we need to be doing? I know it's common in hurricane season to get caught up in what category it is, and that's important to know, but it's more important to get specific about the different things we have to prepare for. And for that, I will ask our OSEP director, Jared Mays, to come forward, and he'll cover some of the details of the plans we've been doing and working in concert with other responding agencies. Jared?
Good morning, I'm Jared Mays. We started monitoring this probably about Friday, the storm system. It looked like it was kind of going to die out Saturday. We had a briefing with the National Weather Service. By Sunday, conditions has changed. As Roger has briefed, the conditions are more favorable for us than they were yesterday. So some of our planning has shifted a little bit, but we're still planning for direct impact just in case, because it could shift east or west. We started reaching out to our emergency support function groups yesterday, coordinate with them and all public agencies on response to get our plans together to make sure our resources and everybody was monitoring the current conditions. This morning we met with the executive policy group, and we decided that any low-lying areas and mobile homes need to take necessary precautionary measures for safety and seek refuge in a safe place. We've been working with our ESF 8 group, which is health and hospitals, for any medical needs that requires assistance to need to assess their needs for electricity or backup for medical machines, to be able to reach out to them so we can get the resources or any type of assistance we may have to provide with them. We have looked at our transportation plan. We already still have it in place currently, as well as a sheltering and last resort. We went over both of those. We are prepared to execute that as necessary. With the current conditions, we don't look like we're going to have to pull the trigger on that, so we should be able to move forward, hopefully without that. We do need to be aware of the high winds. There will be some power outages, possibly structure damages, and flooding areas, so people just need to be aware of that. We know the areas that normally flood, so we'll just monitor those. Post-storm, we'll do a damage assessment as we always do, and we'll work with the municipalities and throughout the parish to make sure they got the needs met. Does anyone have any questions at this time? All right, no questions.
So I'll just restate what Jared mainly referred to, and let me remind everybody what the executive policy group is that Jared referred to. We've had this in place since the early 2000s. Calcasieu Parish has a good system of leadership by design that gets together in these situations. We actually met this morning for a good while talking about this whole event, and that consists of the police jury president, the Calcasieu Parish sheriff, all 6 mayors of municipalities in the parish, and we have a resource from the school board, and we're going to have Jason come up in a little while and talk about that. But we get in there and ask these officials to talk about all the impacts, and therefore coming out of this, again, just to repeat what Jared said, we want to make sure people in low-lying areas, that you know where you are. If you're in mobile home type situation, just please take precautions as needed. We aren't expecting it to be as bad as it could have been, but it could be, and please take caution appropriately. That stops short of some formal type of evacuation recommendation. You have to feel comfortable with that, but that doesn't mean we're totally out of the woods. But any other questions on that, he can certainly come back up on the details. And we're ready if it turns into something a little more direct than what we thought in terms of sheltering and transportation, but that's only if needed toward the last minute. So at this point, we do want to hear from a few of our local officials, and I would ask Police Jury President Anthony Barty to come up at this time.
Thank you, Brian, and again, thanks for everyone for being here. You know, we've been monitoring the situation. One thing for sure, as a group, you know, we always have to hope for the best but prepare for the worst. So with that in mind, I have signed an emergency declaration for Calcasieu Parish, but we will continue to monitor the situation, and we ask that each and every one stay safe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, President Barty. Next, I'd like to ask Sheriff Stitch Gilroy to come forward and cover from the law enforcement side.
Thank you, Brian. Thank everyone for being here. You know, on the law enforcement side, I've been in touch with the area police chiefs. I can promise you, if there's one thing that we know how to do in Calcasieu Parish, is to handle a storm. We've had a lot of experience with it, and I just want you to stay diligent and on top of the weather. These things can change pretty quick. As we have to, should we have to close roads, we'll have that posted up on our website. At this point, we just asking you to beware of the area that you're driving in, especially in those low-lying areas. We're asking that you stay off the road starting tomorrow night. The weather should start getting bad tomorrow night. Please stay off the roads. If you don't have to be on the roads, don't go on. As Roger said, we're going to get a lot of rain and some wind. The last thing we need to do is, you know, have a tree fall across your car or on your car. So if you don't have to be out on the road Tuesday night into Wednesday, please do not go out. Try to stay home, be safe, stay with your family, and take care of things there. I can promise you our law enforcement people are going to be out during this storm doing what we do. We're very good at it. We know how to do it. And should you need any problems, please call us. We do have high water assets that are on standby. Should we have to go and rescue somebody, all you got to do is call. We'll be there. And just be safe and try to stay at home with your family and keep them safe. We're going to do what we need to do to keep you safe. So, thank you. Any questions from the law enforcement standpoint? As I said, we'll post road closures on our Facebook page, and should you need anything, please feel free to call. We're here.
Thank you, Stitch. Very helpful. One of the folks we have in these meetings, as I mentioned, is the school board superintendent, Jason Van Meter. He was in this morning, very helpful. Y'all know this. What schools do has a big impact on the other parts of the community. And so we want to make sure we're working together on that, and I feel strongly about that. And he's been a big help. I know he's still new in the position, a lot going on, but we appreciate his time. And at this point, we'd like to hear a few words from Calcasieu Parish School Board Superintendent Jason Van Meter.
Thank you, Brian. Just wanted to come up and say that we are monitoring the weather. Have been sitting in on the Policy Council meeting this morning, and we'll continue to monitor the weather. Going to watch the National Weather Service briefing that's going to come up this morning. You will have a decision from us in terms of school closure by the end of the day today. So by 3 p.m. today, by the time those kids go home to school, from school today, they'll know whether or not they're coming to school for the next couple days and what that's going to look like. So we'll be pushing something out prior to the close of the school day today. Any questions? Thank you.
That was our designated list of speakers. I think I know the answer to this, but are there any other questions? Not a lot, which is good. That tells me maybe this won't be impacting us directly as it could have been, but it might. Okay? If you look at the screen behind me, we're in that cone. And as the Weather Service will tell you, there's a reason for that, especially this close to the Gulf. That cone narrows. And so that doesn't mean it's going to go right where the H is. It means we're still in that mix. So please be diligent. Make your preparations. If nothing happens or not much happens, that's good. But you just don't know. And diligence is the key word here. But again, are there any other questions from the media or others at this time? Okay, so what is our plan on communicating looking ahead? Later this afternoon, we'll get an update from the National Weather Service. That will give us an idea of what we're dealing with in the forecast for tomorrow into Wednesday. And so we haven't planned a follow-up public briefing yet, but we will announce this afternoon if we do plan to have one tomorrow morning. And if we do, it would be at the same time here at 10 o'clock. But we're going to wait and make that decision later this afternoon. So at this time, if there are no other questions, we will conclude this public briefing for Tropical Storm Francine. Thank you.